pitch down, roll right, roll left. The airspeed indicator shows us speed and therefore is an indirect indication as to whether the aircraft is pitched down, speed increasing, or pitched up, speed reducing. Turn coordinator shows us yaw, shows us roll, and shows us whether or not the aircraft is in balance. The DI, you remember, shows us heading. The altimeter shows us height, but also, if the altimeter is increasing, may be an indirect indication to pitch, i.e. a pitch up. If it were reducing, may be an indirect indication to pitch or pitch down. The vertical speed indicator will show us rate of climb or rate of descent, and also, again, is an indirect indication as to pitch. Now, by setting up a sensible scan of these instruments, we should be able to fly the aircraft accurately using just those instruments, with no reference to the outside world.
So let's now have a brief look at instrument flying. So you can see now that we're flying level, 2,500 feet, neither climbing nor descending, on a heading of due north, at an airspeed of 100 knots this time. The aircraft's in balance and the wings are level. So let's have a very brief look at what each of these instruments shows us. First of all, the attitude indicator. You can see from the attitude indicator that the aircraft is presently flying level. If it were in this position, that's what we call a climbing attitude, and you can see the altimeter showing a climb, the vertical speed indicator an increase in height, and the airspeed indicator a reduction in speed. With the nose in this position, that's the low nose attitude, the opposite occurs. The altimeter shows a reduction in height, the VSI shows a descent, and the airspeed shows an increase in speed. And as we approach or reapproach 2,500 feet, I'm going to reselect the level flight attitude, like so, and the aircraft stops descending. To turn the aircraft, simply rotating the control column to the left, you can see the left wing is pointing towards the ground, as depicted by the attitude indicator, the right wing towards the sky. And we're established in a turn to the left, which can be witnessed by the DI showing the turn to the left. Still flying level, this time at 2,550 feet, still flying at 96 knots. And wings level again.
One of the real pleasures of flying is navigating, seeing new places, visiting new airfields, new countries. Well, today it's not a new country, but it's a simple navigation exercise from Coventry to Cranfield. Now, if there was no wind, it would be a simple procedure of steering the track heading, and the aircraft will follow that track line all the way to Cranfield. But, as we know, we've studied the wind charts today, and there is in fact a wind from the northeast. This means that rather than steering the track heading, we must steer a small amount into wind, laying off what we call drift, in order to maintain that track. Now, to confirm that we're maintaining that track, we need to map read, using the map in conjunction with the ground features that we see to confirm that we are indeed following that track line across the ground and making adjustments if we're not. Well, you can see the aircraft is just approaching the town of Olney. To confirm that that is Olney, we check with the map and we see that there should be a disused railway running to the north, a couple of A roads running in from the northeast, a river to the south and a lake to the south. And as long as we can see these features on the ground, in the right position, at the right time when we expect them, we can confirm our position to be exactly where we should be, i.e. just to the west of Olney. Let's now have a look at the planning for our cross-country. Travelling from one place to another is probably the main reason for learning to fly. And today we shall be flying from Coventry to Cranfield. We simply draw a line between the two airfields like so. The distance is measured using the ruler. The track is measured at the centre of the line using the protractor. If it wasn't for wind, we could simply steer that measured angle. With the Dalton calculator, or computer, we can work out very simply the heading to steer, allowing for the wind today, and the ground speed, and therefore the time it will take us to complete the journey. During your flying training, you will have several hours of dual and solo practice in finding your way around the country with the help of the topographical map. Passing Olney, we can now see the disused railway running west to east to the north of the town, the main road running north-south, and the river and lake to the southeast.
At least 3 items should be used to positively confirm your position. If your aircraft's track differs from that required, it may be for the following reasons. You're flying on a heading different from that calculated. You're flying at a different true airspeed than was used to calculate that heading. Your calculations are in error. The wind is different from that forecast. Some skill is needed in altering headings, using fixes, amending ETAs, and using the map to its best advantage. Use those ground features sensibly. What features can you see to the left of the aircraft? Time to complete our field approach checks and prepare the aircraft for landing. Fuel on, fuel pump on, radios set, engine gauges checked, DI aligned with compass, altimeters set, QFE number 1, QNH number 2. Joining instructions in preparation for the final approach and the landing.
Golf Delta Yankee, Cranfield Tower, clear to land runway 04, surface wind 04 Z degrees at 18 knots.
Good navigators are made, they're not born. It takes several hours of practice before you will feel entirely confident on your own, and never be afraid to admit that you're lost to air traffic control. Upon arrival at the destination aerodrome, you will need to book in, either on the radio or at the booking in point where you see the large black letter C against a yellow background. During your navigation, avoid jumping to conclusions or altering your heading unless you're certain that a change is justified. It is rare that you'll ever be far off track. Every flying lesson is preceded by a pre-flight briefing with your instructor and is followed by a post-flight briefing so you fully understand the theory of the lesson. In addition to the actual flying training, there are a series of fairly simple ground examinations that you will need to sit prior to the issue of your licence. Ground school, including your pre- and post-flight briefings, plus individual or group tutorials, will be required, leading to exams in air law, airplane general knowledge, flight performance and planning, and human performance and limitations. The minimum flying course comprises 45 hours flying, 10 hours solo, of which 5 is spent navigating, 25 hours dual, 5 of which will be spent flying with sole reference to the instruments.
Well, it seems a somewhat daunting task at the beginning, but once you've achieved the PPL, literally, the sky is the limit. The licence is indeed recognised worldwide, and a whole new world of possibilities opens up, whether for fun flying, with family or friends, for business, or even the start of an aviation career. It's the first step in a continuing adventure, the adventure of learning to fly. Clear prompt!